I was thinking what to do with this week, and I decided let's make a depressive video. Stephen King is dying any minute, and let's be honest, he's way over his peak period. He is very. And I thought, can we see this? That he's aging out like crazy from his bibliography. I didn't care for the anthologies. Those just complicate things, and they are mostly just ideas that never made it into a novel. It's, they are not really short stories. They are just dead stories, aborted stories. Now, one thing I observed, I don't know the English word, the sudden, the very exact right word, but it will go, you will understand, that when a writer gets, 50, 60, gets older, they start to change genre, especially, well, you can see it in regular people's interest in reading material, but so people of old age tend to turn to history, real world history. At fantasy writers, I mostly follow them on social media. I also realized that they turn from fantasy to actual real world history, not just sword waving, but how it worked in the real world. And that's also Michael Moorcock started to work real life history. What was that, Gloriana, and all that kind of stuff. The fantasy elements just faded out, and the sword winging remained. Here, I noticed that King, and I don't care about his what was his other writing persona, pseudonym, whatever. That after a while became unnecessary from the publishing side, so it just faded into the Stephen King brand, and then there is an exact point where you can point at, yeah, this is the point where he just didn't need this other person, wrote The Running Man, The Long Walk, and so on. So King, from horror and occasionally the horror adjacent titles, went to crimes. No paranormal shit. No, I think it better integrated the small tone melodrama with the mystery elements. I guess that's what he is doing it. I've not read Stephen King since like the Tominoker maybe, but well, if you go back to the, if you go stick to the end, this was the Dark Tower, the wind through the keyhole. It was just another skin from the Dark Tower franchise. Doctor Sleep after like 50 years. Another skin for the Shining. Then comes revival, another skin for the Colorado Kid, crime, and he also started to write more with co-authoring things. Sleeping Beauty and Wendy's Bottom Box Bear. That is three almost 200-page stories where the second story is written by someone entirely else. And he started to co-write with his kid, who obviously sucks even compared to King. So it was, generate sales to pull him up to at least a mediocre sales numbers. But even King is just faded out from the general view because he is outdated like hell. When he came, he found a niche which he could exploit it. It's a scam, it's a grind, but it worked. I saw most of the movies they made from his writings. Some were good, some were forgettable, most were forgettable, and when you pay attention, you start to notice in most, not all, in most, that King is not that good at a writer. But because before this Dark Tower, the Wind Through the Keyhole, after that there are barely anything he wrote which are independent and not crime. He should be a horror author. He wrote Joyland, The Outsider, Elevation, and The Institute, which is very obviously another recycle of his Carrie, Firestarter, and that kind of tropes. Secret Institute making experiment on average people. Of course, we know King had constant substance abuse, but somehow he avoided the controversies. He stayed home mainly, so he did not go shoplifting and all that kind of crazy stuff. And it's very thematical in his writings. And the shorter the story, the better it is. And some is entirely needless to read because the movie version or TV adaptation is the same in this regard. It's just way more dense, more to the point, and edited. That's very important, especially like needful things. The whoever Harris was the main, and that famous old guy was the shopkeeper. Great movie. What, 90 minutes? 100 maybe? It's 700 pages in writing. Who needs that? Nobody. But it's a recurring thing that Stephen King is not a horror writer. It's the same kind of fakery like the dude was the main character from Dune. That was supposed to be a crime story, but then the director and writer and all that were asked, and they were never into solving the mystery, the crime. They were interested in the small town melodrama. And King's second book, Salem's Lot, it's 440 pages, obviously bloated, but you can forgive him even not integrating well enough the supernatural and the monsters to empires, because it's his practically first book. Carrie was just, something his wife digged out from the trash can, literally, and send it in. Give it a couple more pages and send it in. And what's good in Carrie? By the way, watch the De Palma version. The novel version was trash. Carrie is a disgusting pig, pimples even on her pussy and all that kind of disgusting shit. And that's the grift of Stephen King. Write a small-town melodrama, throw in every couple dozen pages something disgusting, and then people will feel this is horror. Well, it's not. Not really. It's just grift. Then came The Shining. Sure, we all know how it went. Still the earliest things. The Stand, which nobody even knows how many pages it has. It has so many versions, like the Blade Runner. You don't even know if there is a final version out there, or that even comes an after final version. It's bloated, it's messy, it makes no sense, especially if you read it, and it's very preachy. We know that Stephen King is at least grown up as a Christian, and he's preaching in all of his works. He is preaching Christian stuff, apologetic. Christianity is the good thing. No, it's not. Anyway, I mean, it's disturbing if you are not a Christian. So, again, King got outdated. The Dead Zone. Why would you read it? If you want a more bloated mess, watch the series. If you just want the story in a good execution, watch the movie. Firestarter is a recycle of Carrie. Same powers, this pyromancy power. Just the Firestarter, I read it by the way, just like I read The Stand. Firestarter is just about drugs are bad, on top of the Carrie character. Boring. I'm boring. Cujo, I don't even go to Cujo because I just don't get this rabies thing. It's a dog. Bring out the shotgun and shoot it. Anyway, The Dark Tower, the Gunslinger. 200 pages, very good writing. For the first 3 titles of The Dark Tower, Stephen King tried himself out in different genres. This is kinda fantasy stuff. It's short, it dense, it works. Good. Christian. I'm not a car guy. Cars went out of fashion. Now it's all the same, outdated. Pet Cemetery. Do we want to go there? Better not. Cycle of the Werewolf. I never even heard about this. And it's a whole ass book. It's only 127 pages, but it didn't even deserve a movie version apparently. Great, even though there was the silver bullet, so the Stephen King does have a werewolf story on screen. I should take a look at this Cycle of the Werewolf thing. I think there is comic book version of it, so yeah. The Talisman, co-wrote bloated mess, The Eyes of the Dragon, some. I guess he tried to rip off the Silence of the Lamb prequel thing with this one. I'm not sure. It's thought to be a fantasy, which went nowhere. Great. I read it, made extensive notes. It makes no sense, absolutely no sense. The creature's powers make no sense, and nothing makes any sense. The structure collapses on itself. I see what was the point. Longer chapters and chapters get shorter, and the two time period meets converges in the middle. At the end, at the end. Does it work? No. Could it work? With a good editor? But at this point, King was so big of a name, they just looked at it. It's 1200 pages. Print it, I don't care. These people buy everything. It's a bad thing. It's a bad writing. And it's racist, homophobic, preachy, pedophile. It's just so outdated, even if you liked it back then. Then came Dark Tower 2. Fine. It wasn't as good as the first one, but fine. Misery. The book was great. I will never understand the hype around the movie. The movie is trash. It's just boring, not interesting cinematically. It's just trash. The Domino Curse. I think the book was good to read as a teenager. It's one of the longer ones, this says like 560 pages. I pretty much bet my version was 850. But it was great. Great ideas. Although the ending, I just encountered a review video on Salem Slot, is of Salem Slot. The protagonist is trying to destroy the unbeatable evil and blows up the whole town. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. I think the film TV version was an okay baby movie. It's nothing to be ashamed of. King doesn't like it. He doesn't remember writing the whole thing because he was so out of his mind by coke or something. So the dark half, it's like the secret window or whatever was with Johnny Depp. Weak. Dark Tower 3. Again, it was certainly, yeah, sure, it gets bloated, it's 500 pages already, but it was okay, passable. We talked about Needful Things. Gerald's Game is not a horror, it's just some kink story, a PG-rated softcore porn, kink stuff. Dolores Claiborne, you will never sell me this. Not in book, not in film. This is just two old women quarreling with each other, one killing the other, and that's it. What? And as I see this here, 300 pages, it was this thick. I guess it's maybe a false memory when one of my middle schoolmate read it. You don't tell me that you enjoyed it. This is two old women just nagging each other. Fuck off. Insomnia. Again, no film version, and it's 800 pages. What the fuck can this be? Rose Meadow. Sure, whatever you say. again, not did not worse a movie adaptation. The Green Mile was where I knew Stephen King is out of his prime. He was grifting his audience so hard with this sword by chapters thing. It was so obviously grift. Desperation and Regulators are the twin novels, one under the Bachman persona, the other under the King brand. Why? It's just, again, obvious grifting, trying if he needs the Bachman persona or not. Then the Dark Tower 4, very bloated. And, it just needed an editor. It's not, no, it's a decline. Bag of Bones, I could swear this was some, anthology, but apparently not. I guess there was a film version, but then even that was so forgettable I don't remember it. And The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. This sounds like just some woman would read it. And Dreamcatcher was the point. All of civilization agreed. Stephen King is done. He is no longer a name. But he kept, of course, writing. Let's see what to mention from. There was this co-authorship, who knows how much he wrote. Then there was this from a Buick 8, again, recycle of Christine. Then he was so coked out of his mind he got hit by a car because he liked walking on the street. And he dumped out Dark Tower 5, 6, 7. Very obviously the over-bloated, need an editor type of Stephen King writings, 700-800 pages. He doesn't pay attention to the coherency or the character. It's a volume thing. It feels like one thing, just get it out of the door. 2000 pages, because why not? The ending, at least, was serviceable. I agree with the ending, but these three is just not worth reading. Then came The Colorado Kid, wasn't good. Cell, wasn't good. Lizzie's Story, What Are We Doing? Gerard's Game 2. Just skip this. Dumaki. What is this? Some Putin petting? I don't know. Under the Dome, terrible. I'm not even sure if he wrote first this or he novelized the TV series. Ugly 1100 pages. And I've seen the TV series. It was a mess. It started fine, but it so declined so hard. 11/22/63. As I said, old writers turn to history. Was it good? Absolutely. At least, I've seen the TV miniseries. I'm not wasting my time on this book version. Why would I? The TV version is nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly good. The reading of 900 pages thing would take so much time that it should be greater to make myself reading it. It's just not efficient. And I want to mention one. I think they adapted the short story, and it's not held that high regard, but it was a great on TV. Langoliers. And you know why that's good? Because Stephen King fucked it up. I tell you, look at, use the Stephen King tropes from the other books. Who is the protagonist in that book, that writing? The guy who has schizophrenia and is eaten by the Langoliers near the end. That guy. In Stephen King's mind, he is the protagonist. But it doesn't work out. We fucked it up. So, and after this point, as I said, he's just recycling and writing crime stories. Occasionally still writes something horror adjacent, at least. I'm not sure about the genre of this, The Outsider and Elevation and The Institute. Maybe it's just, a novel, as Wikipedia says, calls it, and not, or a thriller, but not a horror. So yeah, Stephen King is dead, and almost all his works are way outdated when it comes to the novels. And he's just a mediocre writer who was in the right place, doing the right grifts and gimmicks to sell his stuff. But he never was a good writer. He could sell his stuff. He was a great, salesman, but the writings, just no.